and gentlemen, let's get busy really quickly with video number 3, where we're continuing to graph a linear equation in slope-intercept form. So our procedure for this, and isn't a procedure, and it's just make sure we're going to understand it as we go, but here we have it. First thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you write the equation in slope-intercept form if it is not already done so. And then, just like we've been doing in the last couple videos, we are going to identify the slope and the y-intercept from that equation. Next, next we graph the y-intercept. This is the starting point. You'll understand that as we go. Next, we take from that y-intercept, from that starting point, we're going to use the slope to find 2 more points to draw our line through. And lastly, we draw the line. Let's get to it. First one, y equals x minus 1. We ask ourselves, is this in slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b? And we say to ourselves, it sure is. So what's my slope? Well, my slope is right here. It is 1. What does the slope of 1 look like? It's important if we're going to graph using it. Well, it means we're going up 1 and our run is 1. Remember, if you don't see the run, it's equal to 1. Every slope is a ratio. Every ratio has a run. Alrighty, and our intercept is right here at -1. That is our starting point. So we go to our graph. We go to 0, -1. -1 on the y, our starting point. And we then follow our slope of 1, where we go up 1 over 1, put a point, up 1 over 1, another point. Now we have 3 points. We can graph our line, and I hope yours is much better than mine. You graph that straight arrow using a straight line, using a straight edge, and make it precise. I couldn't make it precise. I'm sorry. I wish I had a way to make it perfect on this video. But you will. All right? Moving to our next example. Y equals -2x plus 3. Again, we ask ourselves, are we in slope-intercept form? And we say to ourselves, yes. So we identify the slope. What is our slope? Right here. -2. What does the slope of -2 mean? It means we're going down 2 and run of 1. It's important to understand and know what we're doing. And our intercept B is at 3. That's our starting point. On the y-axis, on that y number line, we are at 3. And on our coordinate plane, that's 0.03. So we go there and put our first point. Using our slope of down 2 over 1, we go down 1, 2, and over 1, bingo. And we go down 1, 2 again, over 1 again, and then we draw our line. Ooh, I drew a much better line that time. So there we go. Make sure that line goes all the way through the graph and has an arrow on each end. Let's go to our third example of the night for this section of our notes, graphing linear equations in slope-intercept form. And number 13 says y minus 4 equals -3x. Are we in slope, y equals mx plus b, intercept form? And of course, we are not. So the first thing we have to do is we have to solve to put it in slope-intercept form. And that means we got to move that -4 to the other side. And that's solving literal equations for y. So we're going to do the inverse. We're going to add 4 to both sides, keeping the equation balanced using properties of equality. And now y equals -3x plus 4. Our slope is -3. What does that mean? Down 3 and run 1. What is our intercept? Our intercept is at 4. So starting on the y-axis at 0, 4, we find it is right there. And then we can use our slope of -3, and we go down 1, 2, 3, and over 1, and put our next point. Again, down 1, 2, 3, and over 1. We continue on from the previous point. We get 3 points. We draw our line, and bingo, all the way through the graph, and there it is. Moving on to our next example. 1/2 x plus y is equal to 1. Are we in slope-intercept form? I'll write it above this time. Y equals mx plus b. And no, we are not. We got to take this 1/2 x and we got to move it to the other side. What's the inverse? That's right, subtracting 1/2 x. We subtract it from both sides. And of course, we can't subtract it from 1, so we put it in there on the end, and then we write our equation, y equals, and if you remember what I said before, you want to write that x term first. Do you have to? No, because we know slope is attached to our input. It's attached to our independent variable, and so you can put it any way you want it, but this is what slope-intercept form looks like, and it makes it easier. So our slope is -1/2. What does that mean? Down 1 and a run of 2 this time. And our intercept is at +1. So we go to our intercept of +1, we go down 1 over 2, make our next point, down 1 over 2, make our last point, draw our line nice and straight using arrows all the way through the graph. Continuing along, we have 2 more of these. Y equals 3/5 x. Are we in slope y equals mx plus b form? And the first thing some people might say is no, because there's no b there. Well, let's talk about it. We actually are, because we could put +0, but we don't write that normally. When we're adding 0 or subtracting 0, we don't put it on there. So we're just going to leave it off. So we are in slope-intercept form. We can say that our slope is 3/5. What does that mean? It means we're rising. We're going up 3 and we're running 5 this time, and our intercept is 0 because we don't see it. All right? It's not the invisible 1. Doesn't mean we're adding 1. Remember, those invisible 1s go in different places. So we go to our origin, our 0, 0. And that's our starting point, and we're going to go up 3 over 5. So 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bingo, our second point. And then we recognize I'm not going to be able to go up 3 and over 5 again to get our third point. So how would we find a third point? Someone mentioned it the other day. We can go backwards. We can go reverse. So instead of going up 3, we go down 3. Instead of running right, we run left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you're going to say to me, well, Mr. Ross, you're not allowed. You're not allowed to run left. Well, hello. If I start at this point right here, I can now go up 1, 2, 3 and run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and get right back to where I was. So using slope backwards to find a pre-existing point that we can now draw our line through, and voila, we are done. Moving on, y equals -2/3 x minus 3. Are we in slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b? And yes, we are. Our slope, m, is -2/3. And our intercept, b, is -3. So we're starting at 0, -3. And we put our first point right there. And we say to ourselves, I have to go down 2 and run 3. So I'm going to go down 1, 2 and run 1, 2, 3. Bingo. And once again, we're going to practice going reverse. Practice going backwards to get our third point. So we go up 2 and back 1, 2, 3. Voila, our third point. And we can draw our line right through there. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put all of this to work on a real life situation so we can start understanding some of this. And it says you want to join Club Fitness to work out and get into shape. The cost is $35 per month plus the initial membership fee of $40. Graph the equation y equals 35x plus 40. Interpret the y-intercept and the slope. Well, let's first take a look at our equation. Y equals 35x plus 40. We can identify the slope. We know the slope is 35, which means it rises 35 and runs 1. And then it says that the intercept in our y equals mx plus b form is 40. Okay, so let's take a look at this graph and let's figure out the context of this graph. It says the cost is $35 per month. Well, that matches our slope. So if we take a look at slope, change in y over to change in x, we know it's dollars over months. And so at $35 per month, we know that our y has to be cost in dollars and that our x has to be months. And now we can label our graph. And I'm just going to go by 20s. 20, 40, 60, 80, 60, 80, 100, 20, 140, 160, 180, 200, 220, 240, 260. Saving some time, stopping there. Months. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. 12 months. We're going for a year on this graph. And now we can graph our equation. We can say, hey, our intercept our starting point is at 0.40, right here. 0.40. And that we're costing ourselves $35 a month every time we go. Well, 40 and 35 takes us up here to 75, going over 1 month and putting a point. And then we can go up 35 more, and so that would take us to 110 and over another month. And now we have 3 points that we can draw our line. So if your line is perfectly straight, then every point on that graph would be a solution. Although we are going to talk about that. There are some things about this graph that we are going to talk about in class that I'm not going to spend video time talking about. Very important when it comes to continuous and discrete information and why we don't have numbers on this graph that are going negative. Anyway, let's get back to answering the questions that it says. Interpret the y-intercept and the slope. So if I interpret this y-intercept, and I know that y is cost in dollars, we're saying that this $40, well, it tells us actually in the thing, it's an initial membership fee. They're charging us for something, paperwork, whatever. But it's an initial fee that we're paying on top of our normal monthly fee. So $40 is the initial fee. Okay, and that's our intercept. And our slope of 35 is $35 per month. We already talked about that. So that's what our slope means. It means we're paying $35 per month. And we can interpret that in that way. And always interpreting your y over your x. If your cost is over your months, then your interpretation is cost per month. Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a quick write. You need to get these done. Graphing 2 of these equations. I've already given it to you. We're trying to make this video short. Lots of questions, I hope. We're going to have some more fun graphing when you come to class. Ladies and gentlemen, it's always an honor. I'll see you tomorrow.